we are going to go over how to clean your filter cartridges. We have already put this system into service mode, which I think we went over in a previous video how to do that. The basic tools that you're going to need are a 7/8 socket. You can also use a crescent wrench. This is just a lot quicker, and a rubber mallet. It's helpful if at some point you can have somebody help you put this back together, but you only need help usually for a few minutes. We highly recommend that you have a second set of filters because we are going to soak these for at least 24 hours, and this way your pool does not have to be down. We also, when a pool is brand new, we recommend that you do this after about the first 30 days, just because there's a lot of plaster dust and things that get into these filters. And then after that, we recommend every 90 days. The only times you might need to do that more often is sometimes as the filters age, they seem to clog more quickly. Also, if you have a lot of stuff that goes in the pool, if we have really heavy rains, a lot of dirt gets in there, stuff like that, you may notice that your cleaner's not working very well. You don't seem to have very good flow. Most of the time it's due to dirty filters. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to let the air out of the system. So we're going to gently, this goes down just very gently, and you turn it, and you can hear that air being released out of this pressure valve. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to start to loosen this nut right here. So you're going to notice what comes off is the nut. There's a large washer, spring assembly, and there's another nut that goes against this one. So I recommend just setting those to the side. Most of you will have a heater. Just set those on top of the heater. Next thing we're going to need to do is get this clamp loose. There we go. See that loosened. Keep in mind the whole time we are keeping this open. So we're going to work the top off. We're going to set this to the side. And you're going to see this manifold assembly. Spring, manifold. Usually if you just work this side to side just a little bit, you're going to get that off. The spring should stay put. And you'll just set that to the side. You're going to see this little guy. Most of the time he's pretty dirty, just a little screen. A lot of times you can just scrape the stuff off. If you have a garden hose or something handy, you can spray them out. He just catches a little bit of the stuff that comes up in here. So that'll get set aside. And then you've got filter cartridges. Most of our pools come with either a 420 or a 520 filter, that's the size. And each one of those has 4 filter cartridges inside. So you're gonna pull each one of these out, set them to the side somewhere. By the time they've been cleaned and dried out, they actually don't weigh very much at all. I want you to look down inside here. I think Nancy's already showing you. You have something that looks very almost identical to your upper manifold. So you're gonna, this one's not very dirty. Sometimes you can't even see this. So much sand and grime and grass gets down in here, you can't see this. You can do one of two things. You can drain it out using the plug way down here, which is very difficult to get to, or you can just shop vac the basin out if need be, to get all that extra stuff out of it. The second thing you want to do is you want to pay really close attention to this O-ring. You can see it likes to kind of pop out of place. This one has been lubed, which is something we recommend you do every couple of times you take this out. And you want to make sure there's nothing, no soot, no grime, nothing like that on it, because it can cause the filter to leak. So now we're going to put our new filters in. If you don't have a second set of filters, you're going to soak your dirty ones for at least 24 hours. We recommend a trash can like this. You can tell these larger filters don't fit in the trash cans all the way, so after about 12 hours or so, flip them over to get the bottom part of them. Doesn't hurt at all to soak them longer if you don't have time to spray them off. So you would take those, you might rinse off some of the big stuff, soak them. We recommend a combination of Filter Magic, which is something that eats away at some of the grease and oils that get on these filters, and a good dish soap, a Dawn, something like that. So you'll put about half a bottle of the Filter Magic and 4 or 5 really good squirts of a dish soap. Soak them, fill it up completely, at least 24 hours, and then you're gonna spray them off. Do not use a power washer. Don't take them to the car wash. You're gonna wanna use your hose. We have something called a filter flosser, which is a thing that goes on in the hose, and it's actually curved like the filter, and it gets in all these pleats. That's a really good thing to use. You can also just use a sprayer on the end of your garden hose. You want to be very careful not to damage these bands. That's your primary reason for not using pressure washers. It can tear up the bands. It can also tear up the paper. So you're going to take your new filters. You're going to stick them in. I showed you this manifold at the bottom. You're going to feel those fall into place. Kind of give them a little twist to make sure they're snug. Okay, 4 filters are in. The next piece of the puzzle is our screen. Just fits right back on top of there. We have our manifold. Slides over. Sometimes you just have to wiggle it a little bit. Just make sure they're good and snug down inside there. If you have a little trouble, it's not, uncommon to need to use your rubber mallet just to tap those ever so lightly. Some fit a lot more snug than others. Okay, we're gonna double check our O-ring. Make sure that in the transfer process with all the filters, we didn't get anything on there. I think we're good to go. We're gonna go back and put the top back on. We're gonna slide that on. Make sure it's good and snug. We're rotating so that we get the pressure gauge. You want to put that in? Okay, so we get the pressure gauge where we want it. I'm gonna grab our assembly. This is where it's handy to have a second person. I'm gonna try to get this on myself. If not, we may pause for a minute and get a second hand. But it is a little bit difficult sometimes to get this seated. I think we're good, so we're gonna put our smaller washer on. These 2 pieces of the ring are about this far apart, about one of these lines. You wanna get that as close as possible. So to do that, we're just gonna start with our socket wrench. Once we start to see this start to come together, we're gonna take our rubber mallet, and every so often, we're just gonna take it, we're gonna tap this, and you'll start to see that get, it'll loosen up a little bit, then it'll tighten, it'll loosen, then it'll tighten. All right, if you'll look, we're really close together. I'm confident that we have got it tight and we're good to go. The whole time we have left this open. We opened it at the beginning, remember, and let the air out. We're gonna leave that open now. You can do one of 2 things. You can either go back to your system and start your pump there by going back to auto mode, or you can start it right here if you have a variable speed. You can start it right here. I usually like to start them at one of the faster speeds, although it is gonna ramp up to priming speed. We're gonna let it start to prime, and I want you to pay attention to what happens up here. You can hear it. You can hear all that air releasing out of here. That's how you know you've let all the air out. So the one thing you really want to pay attention to is that you don't have any leaks around here. Now obviously, right over here where we just let that out, you're going to see some water. It's coming down right here. A lot of times you can just do that and it'll start to go away. But if you see a significant leak, you're going to need to take this back off and reset it. Chances are you either did not get it tight enough or there's something that you missed on that O-ring. So you'll really want to kind of pay attention. If you have a small one that you think might be from the water you released from here, give it a day, and if it's still leaking, it probably is a leak. It's not from here. Just because some little beads of water can get trapped down in here and they just kind of slowly trickle out and you're okay. But essentially that's it. That's how you clean a filter.